Hey guys, it's Derica with Derica's Designs, and today we're going to make this adorable Highland cow attachment. This is a no-sew attachment, so grab your glue guns and let's get started. We're back, and look at these big guys. Aren't they the cutest? This is by far one of the most highly requested attachments that I had of 2022. People loved this Highland cow, and I thought, well, I will go ahead and make one. I've had it for a while. I just haven't released it yet. I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what the heck we're doing with it. So I had him in the black and gray fur, and then I had this yellow fur. These furs, very expensive. This isn't a project I would normally do or normally teach because it is going to be very costly as far as the furs go. You need at least half a yard to get the width of the fur, and sometimes these furs can be in the $40-$50 range. So be mindful of that. I'm pretty sure I got both of them at Joann's. You're not going to find this long fur at Hobby Lobby. This is a 3-inch pile fur. The regular furs that Hobby Lobby carry are usually 1 inch to 1.5 inches. It's not near long enough to get the effect you want on this. So, but he's super cute. Not a lot to him. I mean, other than the fur, and working with fur is not the easiest. We know that, right? He's kind of easy to make. So I hope you enjoy this. If you buy fur on Amazon, it's called, I'm pretty sure this is Amazon or something similar called gorilla fur, faux fur. So look for gorilla faux fur. And do not remember what I think the Joann's version might have been husky, maybe. I don't remember, guys. Just look for, if it says the pile length, you want about a 3-inch. You want each individual fur here to be about 3 inches long. Okay, you want big fur. And it just gives the look of the cow. And now I just completely ruined him. Do not brush the fur. Also, one more tip, never brush or comb the fur. You want this nubby looking. These cows do not, if you brush this fur, it's going to look like a Pomeranian foof after they come back from the dog groomer. You don't want that. You want this nubby kind of, fur kind of out there look, okay? So do not brush, do not comb. All right, so I'm going to set these guys aside because I don't think I have enough room on this table. We can refer back to them if we need to. He's a big guy. He's a big guy. But yes, it's kind of amazing to me how many people have asked me for them. Apparently they were very popular home decor this past year. I know I did see some pictures that people had on their walls where they actually put like a flowers up along the top of the head. You can do that too. I don't know much about the Highland cow. I really don't. So I'm just going by, I used some pictures online and just kind of threw this together. So I'm really not a Highland cow professional in any way, shape, or form. So those of you that are Highland cow lovers, though, you're getting your fix here because this is about as good as it can get. All right, so I have this big old piece of foam board. I have the 2 horns and then the felt to cover the horns. And I kind of jumped it, well, because I was mid design and I had already glued, these are the ear pieces. And what I did was I cut poster board, and I'm going to use poster board in the snout as well. It's not as thick as the foam board and it sits in there much nicer. The foam board was just too thick. So I'm using poster board, okay? These pieces are the only foam board, the 1/4 inch foam board with the styrofoam in it. And then the ears and the snout are poster board. So if you're going to Dollar Tree to get some foam board, which is probably the easiest place to find it, grab a couple of poster boards. They're 2 for $1, okay? So what I did was when you pull out your pattern, let's see, where's that? Another tip, always use an X-Acto knife to cut behind and cut your fabric from behind. Try not to use scissors. If you use scissors, you're going to end up with blunt edges. You don't want that. So as you're cutting your the backing of the fur out all the way around, then just take your fingers and pull off any extras that might come off of it like that. All right, then you're going to set your foam board. Make sure you have a left and a right ear, first of all. Make sure you're not doing two rights, a left and a right. Glue your poster board, but leave, as you can see here, maybe, because I already glued it and I had to unglue it so I could show you. Leave like 1/4 of an inch up high so that you can fold that over. That way, what it's going to do on the front is it's going to make some of these little hairs kind of stick out like an ear would, you know, instead of just being blunt cut. So I'm going to go ahead and re-glue this all the way down. But now on the bottom, it's only glued on the front. It's literally glued just to the front, right? It's not folding over the back. Obviously, you wouldn't want that. You want these absolutely amazing hairs to be hanging down. So it's just glued. But the top piece, I am rolling it over and gluing it onto the back side. And then when you put it in there, when all the fur is stuck together, you're going to have these that just kind of stick up and foof. And I like that. I just like the way it looked. Okay. It makes it look, instead of gluing the whole thing to look like this, I liked having that rollover up here. Because, you know, when you're looking at a cow, I guess, their hair isn't just all laying nice and flattened down and, you know, combed, and it's just not like that. So there's, the ears are done basically. That's it, literally. Fur glued to poster board because it's flexible and it's more ear-like, and I didn't want to do hard. Now the horns, obviously, are going to have to be poster board. We need them to be firm. We need them to, you know, we want them to be, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want them to bend. Let's put it that way. So now we are using polyfill on this because everything about this little guy needs to be stuffed full and fat. So when we do these horns, it's going to take you a little while. You're going to have to do little bit by little bit. You, of course, make sure you're doing a left and a right. Always set it out in front of you, a left and a right. So this one's going to go with that one. I'm going to set it to the side. This will be the one we work on right now. Okay, most important. Now we are going to glue this end on, and we're going to glue it to about right here. And then we're going to stuff that little bit underneath. And then we're going to go back and we're going to glue to about right here. And we're going to stuff that with some polyfill and using a dowel, because a dowel will become your best friend on this one. And then we're going to go to about here, and we're going to stuff. And you see, we're going to cut these horns into 4 increments. So let's just get this. This little end is probably the hardest part to glue, so we're going to start with it. And we're going to pull our fabric over. And you're going to have to tug it a little bit. Getting these ends to make a nice crisp point. Not really, it's not so much a point, it's a rounded point. That's what you want the end of the horn to look like. And then we're just going to go up to about there. So keep pulling all this over, just like that. Hold it. Now you can't start to stuff it until it's cooled. So that's why we're going to work on both of them at the same time. We're going to alternate. We're going to glue this one, let it cool. Glue this one, let it cool. And then while this is cooling, you know, then we stuff the other one. It's just easier that way. Okay, same thing. We're going to curl this around the end. There's really no easy way to do this but to just get your fingers in there. Hopefully you are using a detail tip glue gun that does not put out these large beads of very hot glue. See, I did all of that with the glue and not a single drop of glue touched my fingers. That is what these detail tips are amazing for. If you're making attachments, these are the Surebonder detail tip glue gun is under $10 at Walmart. Highly, highly, highly recommend. If you're just starting this adventure of making attachments, then absolutely make the $10 purchase. And you don't, I mean, even if you use it just for your attachments, it's 100% worth it. Okay, so now that one is glued, and I look at it and it looks really nice from this side. I'm going to turn this guy up there. So now this one is cooled, And I'm going to fold this back, and you're literally going to take little bit by a little bit. I'm using a dowel. I don't think you're going to get your finger in here. You can try, and if you have little bitty fingers, you can. I do not. I have huge fingers, so I know when I need to use a dowel. And we're just going literally cotton ball size, little bit by little bit. But we want this horn to look rounded. I don't want it to look flat. I want it to look like it's cut in half and it's round, you know? So, like the head, you know, it's going to be very stuffed. So when you put it in your wreath or on your wall or whatever people do with these things, it has that effect. Okay, so I probably put way too much polyfill in that one. All right, so now we're going to do the same with this one. We're just going to go ahead. I already have the polyfill out here and the dowel. Push it. It's very important to make sure you get that into this very, very edge down here. You don't want a flat end. You want the end to be just as round as the rest of it. So I can tell that it's all in there and it looks really nice. But run your fingers over it to make sure you don't have any gaps or anything if you can't see. Okay, so that's all we're doing on that. So now I'm going to go ahead and flip this one. And I've got to push that polyfill in. Sometimes the polyfill will keep the hot glue from adhering to the felt. So I like to push the polyfill in. I don't want it peeking out like that. All right, so I want to make sure I'm still in the middle, right? You don't want to, if you start going like this, then by the time you get to the end, you're not going to have anything to pull over. So make sure you're constantly putting it right in the center of your felt. Put some glue and fold this next section over. We're going to go all the way up to this curve. Just like that. And we're going to let this cool, and we'll do the other one. Try not to bend your foam board as you're doing this. Just that's why I do it on my hand rather than on the table so much, because in my hand I can keep it from bending on the table. Sometimes you need the table though. Just be careful with it. Just a little bit more on this one. Make sure I'm still in the center right there. Okay, so that one's going to cool, and we're going to stuff this one. Then a cotton ball size, and just get it all the way down to where you left off. Okay, so that one is stuffed as far as it will go. And then we'll do this one. And you just keep alternating back and forth. I tried these horns. I did actually look at them to see if they looked okay with quilt batting, and I was very unhappy with it. It just gave it a look. It just looked more fake. I kind of was going for more of a realistic look. And the quilt batting just was not enough. You really need to have it stuffed like this. Okay. Oops. And if you do get a big bead of hot glue, just use the nozzle of your glue gun to kind of spread it out. But I'm still working. I'm still in the center. Okay, so this one. Here's your dowel. Shove that little piece in there. It doesn't need to be super tight. It just needs to look like half of a horn, like a horn that was cut in half, you know, lengthwise. That's what you want. And when you get in here, I can actually get my fingers in here. So I don't really need the dowel as much, but see how it just looks, it looks better. It looks like a horn cut in half lengthwise. And it just, to me, it looks way better than using quilt batting or just not using anything at all. This was a fun one to make though, because I initially thought, oh, holy heck, I'm going to have to sew that. There's no way I can do that no sew. So I just kept playing with it and playing with it. And then I thought, you know what? No sew is actually easier than the sewn version. I actually liked the way it looked better when it was all finished. I liked the way the head was shaped and just everything about it just to me was way better as a no sew. So, which, you know, sometimes I have to make it both ways for me to know which way I'm going to like it. There have been lots of attachments that have actually surprised me when I thought, wow, not only is it easier to do it no sew, but it looks better. So I'm a diehard sewer. I like the sewn attachments. I like all of the things, but I am definitely becoming more as I'm learning, because, you know, this is new to me too. I've you know, the whole no sew world is definitely new to me. But as I've been figuring things out and figuring out how to make something look right without sewing it, I don't know. It's been fun. It's been fun. Not something I ever thought I would venture into, but this is the way things have been going. So, let's see. We want to stuff it all the way to the end. And get it in there, it pops right out again. And I'm just going to shove it kind of as tight as it wants to go here, all the way to the end. So, all right, there we go. There's one. It's a little time consuming, but the look of it is so much better. So sometimes you just have to go the long way. Do it the long way if you really want that authentic kind of realistic look to it, I guess. Okay, that's probably good right there. Alrighty, so now we have our horns. Now this next part is important. The first one I did, my horns were so crooked that I was embarrassed when I was done with it, because I thought, holy cow, holy Highland cow, the horns were just, I mean, they were doing this kind of thing. It was not good. So on your pattern, I have drawn a line across that you need to transfer onto your foam board, okay? It is important. If you want your horns to be nice and straight, then you need to draw that line on there, okay? And then I made the pattern so that the horns meet right in the middle, so that there's really no chance of them being completely crooked like I did. Holy cow, it was terrible. But my gosh, you know, I finished the whole thing before I realized how crooked they were. You just kind of have to eyeball where your center is. You can draw a line down the center if you want to as well. I didn't get that far, but really a ½ inch here or there is not going to make a huge difference. So I'm only gluing to like there, And then I'm putting these in there. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure they both run along, the tops of these run right along that line that I put in there so that they look straight. And yikes. And it's a messy gluey thing, of course. But if you take the top of the head and you put it on one of the lines of your cutting mat and then you can kind of see this one comes out just beyond this line and this one comes out just beyond the same line. So they're pretty close to even as I'm going to get. So if you don't have a guideline to go by, you're going to end up with a wonky horned cow. So we're going to let those just kind of cool off over there. That was a lot of glue. I put a lot of glue in there. And the reason I put them all the way into the center was for stability as well, you know, so that they hold up. All right, so now we're going to do the little snoot, the little snout. Now again, I did it on poster board, the thin poster board, not foam board, okay? Foam board stuck out too far. It made it didn't look realistic at all. So this, we're going to do the exact same thing that we do with the foam board. We're going to go all the way around like this. I'm going to leave this bottom open because that's where I'm going to stuff it. Go all the way around. Just like that. Give it a hold. Okay. Now this is the lower lip. It's just 2 pieces of felt. And I'm just going to glue them together. That's it. There's nothing more to the lower lip. And just glue them together. We'll let those cool. Get some more polyfill. I left the whole bottom open. That way I can kind of get my fingers up in here. Make sure when you're pulling off polyfill that you're fluffing it, that it's not real dense. You don't want to be shoving it in there like crazy stuffed. You don't really need to. The whole purpose of polyfill is that you put it in like this in a ball and then it goes and it fluffs up your fabric for you. You don't need to stuff it within an inch of its life, okay? Okay, so now I'm just shoving it all in there. When I have a good amount, and I can tell it's all full all the way around. Actually, there's more over here. Make sure you get these little corners. The corners are always it's hard to keep it in there. All right, so now I'm just going to put some glue right there and start walking it around like everything else. It's going to cause the poster board to flex a little, so you want to flatten it out. Because you don't want the poster board to be curved. See how, well, you can kind of see how it's kind of got a curve to it. You don't want that. So make sure as you're gluing it, you're allowing it to be flat. Okay, so I'm going to cut off these little chunks here. It's still just slightly curved. So when I go to glue it on there, I'll make sure I really put some pressure on it and kind of flex it that way. All right, so let's go ahead and put our nostrils on. I'm kind of eyeballing it, just put them wherever you want. These cows have huge noses, so I made the nostrils a little extra big. Just like that, you know. And then this lip just gets glued. The 2 pieces I glued together, I put a line of glue. And then I'm just going to put this right on top of it. It's just a lower lip, just like that. So it gives more of a cow effect to it. Just like that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to set this aside now because we don't need it. We can let that cool. And we're going to grab our head again. Now, this is again, time consuming. Make sure you have your entire workspace open for these horns. First things first, we're going to take our fur. Now, if you notice on the fur, and this was important, I did not cut the edges of the fur wider than the edge of this face. We are literally going to glue that down right there. Oh, we need to put the ears on. Yeah, let's do the ears first. I want the ears on the front, not the back. Now, it sounds weird. It's not the way we usually do it, but I wanted these ears to be, see how it hits right up under that horn? Like they're touching. And then it kind of curves down into that's what you want. So the ear, here, wait, I'm going to make this easier to see. I'm going to cut all of this extra. Let's see, we're going to give him a haircut. I'm just going to create a line right here. I'm not going to take off all the fun stuff that we want to show, but I'm going to take off all this extra stuff over here. And we're going to cut where the snout goes to later. So you're going to be given this fur. In order for it to glue properly, you kind of got to give it a bit of a haircut. I mean, it's just all over the dang place. And you don't have to do this because we're just going to stuff this. We're going to put polyfill over it. But I'm doing this just to show you about how far in we want it to go. So there. So now we have this little cut area right here. That's about, and well, I would say about right there is where you want it. You can see kind of where the line that I made. So that is 1 inch. I cut 1 inch in. And that's about approximately where I'm going to glue this down, okay? It's just easier to glue down with all that stinking fur behind it. So we're going to go about right there. And again, the top of this ear, it's going to go all the way along that horn. They're going to touch all the way until the ear starts to curve down right here, okay? So they're touching right there, okay? And just keep pushing this fur out of the way. I don't know any better way to do it than just rake it with your fingers. Do not brush it. Do not comb it. There we go. So that is how we want the ear. We need it to stay out of the way. So we can fix it later. We can fluff it later. So again, I'm going to make a line at about 1 inch. Like this. And we're going to give it a haircut. This would all be covered by the fur anyway, the big piece of fur. So this is not hurting or harming or anything. Just give it a haircut. Now you hate to cut this fur, especially with how much you paid for it. But there we go. So again, about 1 inch or so. We're going to put some glue on the back of this, about 1 inch away, like that. Oof. Hate working with hot glue and fur. Ugh, what a miserable combination, huh? And again, we're going to make sure the ear is touching the horn all the way down until where the ear itself starts to curve. So it's touching from here to here. The top of that ear is touching the horn. That's how you know they're even, okay? Like that. There we go. Silly little cow. Okay, there, we got the ears on. Now we get the big piece of this. And again, we'll go back through it again. The fur should not be any wider than the actual head right here. It does not get wider until under the ear, okay? And we're gonna glue that down. We can't fold this fur behind this horn or behind this ear to the backside. So we had to cut it the same width. Now we have a little extra up here to fold over for sure. And we have all this extra down here to fold over. Okay, and that's what we want. So first thing we're gonna do is make sure this top part is in place. Also, if you're going to use this as an attachment and you want to put a pipe cleaner, or you need 2 pipe cleaners on this one, guys. I would put 1 on each side. And you could even add 1 down by the snoot if you felt like it. But it's going to need 2 pipe cleaners. But we're going to fold this over. We need to let this cool before we do any tugging on it. Now the fur's going to be in the way. It's going to be a mess. Just be patient with it. Okay, So actually I'm going, or let's see, I don't have any with me. I forgot again. You can use the little cable tie mounts and you can stick them on here. I don't have any experience to know if the cable tie mount will stick to the paper without needing any super glue. It is sticking just fine on the ones that I have, but I have not hung them anywhere. So I would play with that. I think the cable tie mounts are easier to use. And if you ever attached a sign to a wreath and used the little square cable tie mounts, I use them for pipe cleaners. They're not really cables, but either way, you can use pipe cleaners or those mounts. So now if we flip this up, flip back the toupee, you can see from here all the way to there where it widens, we are literally going to hot glue it down. As long as we don't get it in the fur, that is the most important part. Hot glue it down. But first, so that we can make this look like a cow, I'm going to add some polyfill just in this little top area because it's kind of hard to get your hand over these horns. But when you just put it right in the middle, don't try to get it perfect. You can move it around with the dowel if you need to. But I just put a wad of that there, and you can see I didn't put it all the way to the ends. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to try my hardest not to get any of this glue mixed in with this fur. That and that. So now when we pull it over, you want to pull it pretty, you want to make sure you have this overhang down here. So, and then I'm going to put my hand up here and I'm going to just, don't lift it again. Don't move it around. Don't try to get it off the fur. If you get hot glue on the fur, let it cool and then cut it off. Don't try to get it while it's wet. You're going to create a giant wad of goopy fur is what you're going to do. So, okay. So you can see I have glued all the way down these sides. Now, see this fur? Even though this is glued on there, look at when you glue it down, this fur will come out over it. Look at, and it covers it completely. You're never going to see this area here that you glued down. And you can even go, if it didn't glue as well, you can go back right now and stick a little more glue in there if you need to. But now, when you pull it back, depending on how far you glued down, I think I only glued over the horns. So you can kind of see in here, I haven't put glue on top of the ears right here, but I need to stuff it some more. Now is when you want to get your hand in there. Cows have huge foreheads. You know, it's this little guy is going to be stuffed all the way. But make sure your glue is cool before you mess with this. You want a nice big bump. See this big bump? Well, you can't really tell with the mirror or the camera. You want a big bump up there. That's the cow head. Think about how a cow forehead is. Okay, so now we're going to do as we would normally do. We're going to glue down each side probably to the right here. And some of this is going to go, well, let's see. We can't really do that. First of all, we need to glue this piece onto the tops of these ears first, okay? So I'm putting glue on each side, approximately how wide I think that ear is. Okay, we had to do that first so that we can get this sealed down. And once you seal it down, like I said, don't pick it back up. Don't. It's there. Okay. So it's going to kind of cut in right there where those ears are, but we're going to stuff it. All right, we're going to stuff it. So just keep pressing it down. Now pull it over. Again, make sure you're tugging it enough that you're leaving enough to pull over down here. Okay, it doesn't need to be a lot, but it definitely needs to be more than what I did. Okay, I only have like that much left. So my fault. I should have been paying more attention. Maybe I put too much up here. But give yourself a good amount down here, okay? So now what we're going to do, just like we would do with all of our other attachments, we're going to glue over these sides to the back like this. Try not to push on it. You don't want to flex and bend your foam board. And just like that, kind of and I'm just going to keep tugging this down here because it is going to be, it's going to be hard. I didn't leave myself enough. So learn from me. And we can trim this hair off later if we want to. This hair on the back. It doesn't, it's not a huge deal. Okay, so now get some more polyfill. And it should be big enough. Get your hands in there. And you're just going to want to stuff it. Just the whole, go get to both sides. Get up under these horns in front of the ears, the area that we glued. You know, it's a big old cow head, so get lots of polyfill in there. Just keep going. Make sure you're doing both sides. All the way down to the end. Now here's going to be the tricky part because I did not leave myself enough room. So I am just going to have to really tug on it. Get all your polyfill in there. Before you start gluing, make sure you pull out all the hairs that are tucked up under there because of the polyfill. Just take a minute to get every hair, every clump of hair, just pull it out of the way. Put it in with your fingers. Then I'm going to take, wow. All right, well, let's start on the sides because I don't have much to go with on the bottom. See, and guys, I've made this before and I still didn't give myself enough. So just kind of learn from me. If you are in the same situation that I'm in and you didn't give yourself enough, it's okay. We're going to make it work. It's not going to be, it's not going to look bad. But instead of, normally if I had enough, I would curl it over right here and I would glue it. But since I don't have enough, I am forced to glue it to this front side. Not ideal, not what I had planned, but in the effort of showing you how to fix something. I'm not taking this apart. You can't take it apart. Once you get hot glue in this fur, it is there for good. So we are going to glue it down to the front. I'm going to just really tug on it. So I had just enough to go around the edge of the snoot down here. But not curl over the back. So I'm literally I put a line of glue on this front top side instead of curling it to the back. And now when I flip it over, you can see I only had enough to go right along that edge. I could pull a little bit over right here, but that is it. In fact, I will pull that over because it looks terrible. So I'm going to shove some of that polyfill back in there. Now, when you curl it around like that, it doesn't force the fur to go back this way. You just pull it out and it goes forward. So whether you do it flat on the front like this one or curl it around, the fur is still there. All right, so there. And it really didn't affect the look of, I mean, we still have, this is what the important part is. All of this down here. That's the, Lord, I have foof coming everywhere. All right, so now the eyes, I did not get real crazy with the eyes. Right in front of the ears here, kind of on the side of the head, I'm gonna make little divots. I'm gonna try to make them even, okay? That one's too far. I'm just gonna glue these dark pieces of felt, the brown, right into this little area where I just parted, made a part. That way the fur can flop back over them, because if you've ever seen a Highland cow, you really don't see their eyes, or you see very little of their eyes, depending on how old they are, I'm sure, because the younger ones didn't have as much fur, but it's just, all it is the illusion of an eye under that fur. It's not actually going to be an eye. That makes sense. So see how it looks? See how creepy it looks right now? Because there's no pupil or anything. But watch. Once you take the fur and just get it messy again, you want it all messy, and then you just barely have it. See? It looks so different now. Even it doesn't look creepy. It doesn't look weird. You have this nice long 3-inch fur covering it, and then it does it. You know the eyes are there, but you don't see the eyes. That's the look. Okay, so now we got to add the little snout. So I'm going to put this up here and kind of get an idea. So we're not going to cut something this big. We're only going to cut right in the center. Because we want just a small circular area that can really get glued on there and not come off. You know, the hair is going to make things go in 100 different directions. So I'm not being super careful. I'm just kind of giving a couple of stitches here and there. There we go. So it's hard for hot glue to glue to the hair and keep the snout in place. Now I can tell I'm much further this way than this way. So, all right. So you see that? It's just a hole in the middle, but now I still have all of my fur all the way around. And watch, when I put the snoot in there, it's going to cover it, and all this fur is going to come down over the nose like that. And that is what you want. That's why you don't want to cut any of that. I just cut a little bit in the middle, and that's the only place I'm going to add glue, because I don't want glue on all of my long fur. I just want glue on that. So I just put glue right in there. Now I'm going to take my little nose. I'm going to just try to center it right on there. Now I need to look at it to make sure it's not crooked. Make sure your nose is nice and straight. And I'm just going to hold it down. We're going to hold it down. So now you can look at, now that this is cooled off up here, you can see why we put all that polyfill under here. It's super plush. It's super big. It makes, you know, the nice big forehead on this. The horns come out and they're straight and they look really cool. And then you have the little eyes just hidden in there. Just little pieces of brown is all it is. Just like that. See how cute they look? Just by moving a little bit of the hair around. And then you have the nose, which, like I said, wouldn't work on foam board because it stuck out too far. But on the poster board, lets it be firm enough to stay in there, but not stick out too far. And then you have the little lower lip, because and I don't put any glue or anything under this lower lip. It's just hanging out down there. Okay. The glue is only in the center. But now look at it. Look at how cute he looks. All of the fur around it. And fur is miserable to work with, but look at what you can do if you just take the time and have the patience. Super cute. Now, of course, the pictures that I saw, I'm pretty sure it was a Hobby Lobby picture that I saw. They put little garlands of flowers up here. Listen, you can do whatever you want with your cow, but I just wanted to give you the cow, the basic cow. You run a really, that was a lot of glue, so I'm really going to, but see how it pulls over the nose? I mean, that to me is the cutest. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. So let me get my other guys over here. Now, I did it in gray. I don't know if they come in this color. It's just a color that I had. But this is a black. I did the more of a grayish black horn with black accents. And the snoot is, it's like that marbled gray. I really liked the gray one. I thought it was really cute. It kind of reminded me of a yak. Guys, if you know what a yak is, this looks more like a yak. And then I did find this fur. Again, very pricey. But it's more traditional Highland cow color. So that is that. This is our cute little cow. Now what I would do, I think I've done it on these. Let's see, maybe this one. I have not. So I would go back here and I would glue on 2 cable or 3 cable tie mounts. Just to, if you're selling these, you want to give your customer options back here with a pipe cleaner inside of it. Very few people use zip ties for their, or cable ties as they call them, for their attachments. And you can see back here, see, I trimmed everything that was back here, except for this bottom part. Never trimmed the bottom part. But I trimmed all this stuff on the sides. So you can go back with your scissors if you want to. And just this side stuff that's going to kind of get in the way, just try not to cut anything that goes out front. Like just this, just that. Just that way it'll lay flatter. Look at how cute that is. They're big. I mean, the horns go 23 inches, and then from the bottom of the lip to the top of the horn is 17 inches. So they're 23 by 17. Is big. It's going to take up a whole wreath. They're super cute though, and super fun. And I hope you guys like this. And all of you who've asked me for it over and over and over again, I cannot wait to see what you do with them, because, you know, it wasn't on my radar as something that we needed, but now we have it. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.